Okay. Hello to anyone who's listening to this. This is just going to be a relatively short video discussing a possible solution to a possible problem that we might have in the next quarter. So, as I currently understand it, we aim to have a proof of concept of a feature which will enable users to book resources in an intuitive and visually pleasing way by selecting said resource on a floor plan image through our mobile clients. The requirements for this are a floor plan image and a set of coordinate resource name pairs that map onto the image. As I currently understand it, Condeco create this extra information about floor plans by having a human who manually figures out the coordinates of resources on the floor plans and who enumerates this data into an Excel sheet, presumably eventually ends up in a database. This human may either be an employee of one of our customers or an internal Condeco employee. I imagine this will amount to a significant effort if we aim to have the majority of our customers' real estate mapped out in such a way. It would be great if there was some way to automate part or all of this process. I started thinking about how we might do that. In my spare time, I sort of like to fiddle around with AI and pretend like I know what I'm doing. So I sort of thought maybe there's a way we can do image recognition or machine learning or something to figure out where resources are, what different types of resources there are in a floor plan. For instance, we might want to differentiate between a big communal table and a single desk, or desk banks, or circular desks, or stairs, or all sorts of other resources in a floor plan. So yeah, I thought it's probably possible. Didn't quite know where to start or how feasible it was or whatnot. So after some Googling, I actually came across a tool which was written just last year in August that basically aims to do exactly that. This is the tool here, you're looking at it. It's written in Kotlin, which happens to be the language that I write our Android apps in at work, so that's cool. So I can actually understand the code when I read it. The code base itself is not really that big. It's about 7,000 lines. It relies quite heavily on a library called OpenCV, which is for image processing and machine learning on images. Yeah, so the tool itself, it finds rooms. It's able to find the bounds of a room. It's able to identify doors, and that's about it at the moment. But the doors, they're recognised by reading a cascade file, which is provided as an output of an OpenCV function, which you can basically get it to classify new things by providing it a load of training data. I won't go into loads of detail about that because I don't fully understand it yet, but I'm learning. So yeah, it has a pass basically where it finds all the doors in the image before it continues on to the rest of the algorithm. If I was to provide cascade files for different things other than doors, for instance circular desks or stairways, it would also be able to find those in that pass before it goes on to identifying the rooms themselves. Yeah, so it's the program is written in such a way as well that if you want to add additional algorithms into the pipeline of algorithms that will be carried out on the image, that's really simple to do, which is great. One of the downsides of the tool is that each of the algorithms that are run, they're all run in sequence, by the way, so I should probably say before I get on to the rest of it that it's a set of several algorithms that are run in sequence, where the output of one algorithm is the input to the next one. Where was I going with that? Yeah, so each of these algorithms, they have parameters that must be tuned depending on the image. So the first algorithm in the pipeline basically erodes any noise from the image. Depending on how noisy the image is, the parameters of that algorithm have to be tweaked up or down. That means that you have to have a user sitting here tweaking the parameters, looking at the result of the algorithm, and obviously tweaking until the result is the desired for the next algorithm. Ideally, what I was hoping for was that you wouldn't need any user interaction at all, that you would just throw a floor plan image into like an endpoint, for instance, and just treat it as a black box. So you throw a floor plan in, it does a load of magic on it, and then it spits out a floor plan with all the resources marked, and all the floors, all the rooms marked, everything. So that's the dream. The reality is that you have to sort of guide the algorithms. What I'm hoping to do is get it so that the parameters of the algorithms can be actually what the parameters should be can be learned. Essentially, that's what I think. So you give it a load of training data, which would be floor plan images. You get it to just randomly pick parameters, and then you grade it at the end, saying, "Oh no, you didn't quite get the parameters right. You need to tweak them more back this way for this particular image." And so over time, it would learn for this kind of image, for this size of image, for this building layout, I should probably go for these parameters, or for this amount of noise, I should probably go for these parameters. This sort of thing. I think that's feasible and doable. What I will do now is just run the tool on this image that was provided to me by Max. I've pre-worked out all the parameters. It took me about half an hour. So rather than me sitting tweaking them on this video, I'm just going to run the tool with pre-worked out parameters. Okay, so I just hit run workflow and it's now started off the first algorithm. I'll tweak the parameters on this first algorithm just to show you that the tool sort of has a somewhat intuitive interface. So, if I pull the erosion size up here, it's just eroding more and more of the detail of the image, and you can see that here in this sort of intermediate stage. Quite cool. And the same applies for all the algorithms. So when you get onto the next step, if you move these bars along, it shows you the sort of intermediate image that's produced before the result. I'll just set this back to what it was, so that was 2. So the idea that I was getting at was that these parameters, we shouldn't have to have a user sitting here fiddling these parameters. The tool itself should have learnt what these parameters need to be for this particular floor plan. And then if you provide it another floor plan, it'll just know what the parameters need to be. Bit of a tall order, but I think it's doable. So I'll go on to the next step. So now it's picked out all the doors. Okay, that's pretty cool. On nearly all of them. It's missed one down here, it's missed one here. So if I'd tweaked the parameters even more carefully, I probably would have found those two. And it's also picked up a desk as a door, which is quite amusing. We can just remove that though. If I select it in this tree and remove, now it's gone. Okay. I'll quickly show you what happens if I pull these parameters. Okay. And these ones. Like that. Okay. But I'll just set them back to what I know works for this particular floor plan. So next, this particular algorithm just closes any exterior gaps. Not quite sure why. We'll just skip that one. This particular algorithm tries to delete the features that it's found. So if it's found a door, it'll try and it won't remove the fact that there's a door there. It still knows there's a door there. It'll try and get rid of the door and just turn it into a wall. I think it's kind of useless, so I just ignore it. I want all the doors to stay on the floor plan because I think it looks better. And then the final step is where it flood fills out and figures out where all the rooms are. This is the most computationally expensive step. Tweaking these parameters down here takes about 30 seconds to update the resulting images. Fortunately, I've already worked all the parameters out, so we'll just leave it and skip to next. Okay, and then this is the end result essentially of the tool. So we've got our floor plan, but now it's overlaid with doors, so we can see the doors. They're all in a big tree structure on the right here. We can select individual rooms. It's got the coordinates that define this polygon. Oop, somewhere in this tree structure over here, there it is. Okay, look, we've got a room there. It's picked up because there's a gap here, it's picked this up as one big room. I don't know whether that's desired or not, but the algorithm could be tweaked such that this gap could be closed and it would detect these as two separate rooms. Okay. Somewhat amusingly, it's picked out these desks as rooms. That's because, again, the parameters weren't quite correct, so there's a sort of accuracy issue with this tool. If you don't get the parameters exactly correct, you might only get like a 80% accuracy. So it could be, the tool itself as it currently stands, is it a solution to the problem? It's not a sort of silver bullet, but it could be used by whoever's marking up the floor plans as a sort of first step, I guess, a first pass to hopefully reduce some of the workload, or with some tweaking and getting it to actually learn what the parameters need to be for various different kinds of floor plans, then it would in theory be able to do it just all auto magically. So you just throw a floor plan at it, it knows what parameters to pick to get the best, most optimal outcome at the end, and it just goes ahead and does it and spits out this. So this tree structure, it could obviously be saved as like JSON or XML or something in a database, which could then be queried when we, on the client end, when we load up a floor plan, then we just query the database and say, give me all the coordinates for the resources on this particular floor plan. We overlay them on the client app, and the user could go, right, I want to book this room. They click it, and it opens a modal, something along those lines. So yeah, I'm sort of happy to look into this in my spare time. I reckon to do what I've suggested with it learning the parameters of the algorithms, I reckon that's probably a couple of man-months worth of work for me. If there was like an AI specialist or whatnot, they could probably smash this out in a week, but I'm not that guy, so. But yeah, I think the tool's promising. The dream would be to get it just as a microservice where you just throw a PNG or a JPEG at it, and it automatically just figures out where everything is and spits you back sort of a list of resources that you need to then name, because obviously it doesn't know what this particular room's called. It's not that smart. Yeah, that's about it. I've written up a Word doc that hopefully more eloquently says what I said in this video, because I'm not very good at these, but I'll send that to you. Yep, and that's that. Thank you.